everyone. Good evening, viewers. We are glad to have you join us in this webinar, Decoding the MBA Admissions at CEIBS. This series by ReachIvy helps prospective students decipher the admission process at top schools globally. I am Juhi, Chief Student Associate at ReachIvy, and I will be leading the session today. Before we get started, I would love to share a little bit of information about ReachIvy. ReachIvy is a premium education and careers advisory. Our expert panel of study abroad consultants helps aspiring students get accepted into Ivy League and other top ranked schools globally. Our services include counseling and profile building, college selections, applications, and interview preparation, among many others. Over the past 7 years, we have helped several students reach top schools of their choice globally. Today, we have James Kent from CEIBS joining us for this session. James is the Assistant Marketing Manager for CEIBS MBA program in Shanghai. He's accompanied by Ketan Arora, who is currently pursuing his full-time MBA at CEIBS. James is originally from the UK and studied Chinese and business at the University of Sheffield and London University. After graduation, James worked in London for 5 years recruiting for multinationals. At CEIBS, he works closely with admissions colleagues to attract global talents to join the full-time MBA program. We are very excited and looking forward to an enriching and exciting conversation and helping to understand the application process at CEIBS for our future prospective students. So, James, before we begin, do you want to add something to this?
Hello, everybody. No, Juhi, that was a very nice, concise introduction. Thank you very much.
All right. So, to start with, I would request you to share some information about the school, the history, the background of the school.
Perfect. So maybe first of all, I'll just dig into a little bit about the history. So it's actually a common misconception that we're a Chinese business school. Actually, that's half right. We're actually one of the longest standing joint ventures between China and Europe. So the school was founded as a JV between the Chinese government and the European Union. And everything since then has kind of followed this split 50-50 side. So the leadership are half from Europe or international and half from China. The cases that even students are studying in the class, some of the same cases you have at IND or Harvard Business School. Others are our own China-developed case studies about companies in China. And the students and the faculty also follow this balance between what we call China depth and global breadth. That very much, as I say, has kind of informed our mission, and that's our mission at CEIBS, to educate responsible business leaders that are versed in both China depth and global breadth. Since we're established in 1994, the MBA program has risen incredibly rapidly in the rankings. We now hold the #8 global position in the Financial Times ranking, which makes us #1 in Asia. Also a recent development, we have a new president for our European arm, Professor Deepak Jain, who was the former dean of INSEAD and Kellogg, originally from India, but now we're very excited to have him as part of the CEIBS family to help us with the internationalization of the school.
Great, that's really great piece of information that you shared, especially the ranking part. I'm very sure that it will help the prospective students, to understand your school better. Moving on, we would like to know more about the curriculum and the structure of your full-time MBA program. It would be great if you can enlighten us with the information related to the teaching style or the facilities that you have at school.
Sure. So maybe I'll start that off. Actually, Ketan's just finished term 1, so he's giving up one of his party evenings to be with me this evening to host this webinar. But I'll just kind of in a nutshell talk through the typical journey. So students join us for the 18-month or 12-month full-time English language program in Shanghai in August. And then term 1 and term 2 are very much focused on the core modules. So macroeconomics, organizational behavior, financial accounting, etc., etc. Then students, as they move through the journey, they take on more elective credits. The things that we do that are a little bit different, both before and after the winter holidays, are something called China modules. And a China module is basically a deep dive into a particular region of China that's helped it to become the economic powerhouse that it is today. So at the moment, we have a bunch of MBAs in the Gobi Desert taking a leadership in action module. We'll also be going to Nanjing later this year to take a look at globalizing Chinese companies. And this is very much complemented by the overseas electives, which does exactly what it says on the tin. We go to places like Israel, the startup nation of the world, to have a look at the startup culture there. Keitan also told me he'll be going to Japan to the Tokyo overseas elective that looks more at innovation. And then when students are kind of then back in the classroom, so back in kind of the springtime, they're still doing their electives, but then we also do something a bit unique, which is a integrated China strategy project. So this is very much in line with experiential learning. Everything up until that point is kind of a balance of the case study method and the regular lecture method. But the experiential learning at ICSP comes into place where we set up live consultancy projects at our partner companies in Shanghai. So our students go in small teams of 4 or 5, and they work through a very prominent business challenge that these companies are having. And these are either Chinese companies going global or multinationals that are trying to build deeper roots in China. After that, it's quickly approaching the summer. So a lot of students will take a 10-week summer internship. And then they'll have a short break. And then it's up to them. They can either decide to continue down the China rabbit hole and stay on campus and complete the 18 months, or they can take advantage of one of our fantastic overseas exchange opportunities. And this is a proper exchange. So each year we send out about 120 students that will go to the likes of London Business School, INSEAD or Wharton, and then we receive MBAs from those schools as well. And that's pretty much the duration of the 18-month program. Students can take a 12-month if they'd like to fast track. But Keitan, your thoughts so far on the journey in term 1?
I mean, I've been here about 3 months. Came here a month before the MBA started, just to get a feel of the city and the country. So yeah, I was learning the language here. And I've loved the school so far. The program has been pretty amazing. Some of the courses that we've had are like pretty mind-blowing. And yeah, really liking it so far over here. Even the city outside and everything, it's a great change for me to come to a country like China and in the most international city over here, Shanghai. So that's a great opportunity for me, and like having all these facilities at the school. So really great to be here.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. Ketan, there is something which I would like to understand from you. So the students are very curious as to know that how a classic day at the school looks like. So since you have experienced it yourself, it would be great if you can describe it for our students.
So a classic day at school. I'd say we've got not much of lectures. So we start the day typically at 9, and we've got lectures till 3:30, and we've got 3 lectures in a day. And apart from that, there are like loads of activities that you can join in. Some are by the student clubs, some are by the career development team of ours, and some are by the MBA team. So there is a lot of different things that keep on happening at school apart from the lectures. But like keeping it to the lectures, I guess we have like a very good balance of how the classes go about, and we have we manage pretty well during the lecture. So a typical day would be like 9 a.m. We've got a class, 1.5 hours. Then we've got a short break. Then again, 1.5 hour class. Then a long break, lunch break basically. Then again, 1.5 hour class. So that's how the day goes like. And after that, there are activities which I just told you. We also have an e-lab which has just started its activities recently. And e-lab is basically for people who are interested in entrepreneurship. So e-lab basically nurtures that inner entrepreneur of yours. So yeah.
That's good to know that the school is focusing on entrepreneurship as well. Well, from James, I would like to understand how is the class profile. Basically, since you work very closely with the admissions team, would be great if you can share information related to what's the basic criteria, what you would look into a candidate in terms of average, their GPA, test scores, work experience, etc.
Sure, sure. So I'll start off with the class profile. So this year, Ketan's year, we have 175 MBAs. The average age is 29. The average work experience is just under 6 years. I don't have numbers to hand about the GPA, but GMAT score, we come in at 685 on average. We have 40% of our student body are females, which is very high. It's actually a little bit lower than it was last year. It was a record year last year. And overseas students, it tends to be between 1/3 and about 40%. So I think this year we're about 36% international students, and those internationals are either people that are coming to China and Shanghai for the first time because they're just super curious to really play their part in what's happening in China on the global stage. They've read about it in The Economist, they're reading about it in the Financial Times, but they're really excited to kind of see what they can do here. Or we have people that have a bit like myself, kind of old China hands that have been in and around and working with China for many years. So we tend to have a nice balance, from that side, which adds a lot of energy to the class and also helps, with the understanding. There's a lot of support for internationals to come in if they've never been to China before. Ketan and some of the others, they came actually earlier for a month for an intensive Mandarin course, which is kind of a nice soft landing before the real MBA workload and exams starts to hit in.
Great, that sounds quite interesting. You have a diverse profile, especially the number of international students and the female students that you mentioned. Very helpful. Well, in a year like this, wherein there are a lot of options available for students, it's very difficult for them to pick up the right school. So at ReachIvy, we meet a lot of students who face this decision, who should ideally, so as per you, who should ideally be applying for this program? What's the perfect fit? What kind of profile is a perfect fit for your school?
Sure. It's a very interesting question. It's in a very interesting time, I think, to be living and to be considering an MBA. I think that the days of having a safe choice and maybe going to a super established US school are behind us, really. I think now it's a bit more of a level playing field between Asia, Europe, and the US. I would still say that the perfect fit in terms of candidate for us, still comes that's very curious, that's has very much an adventurous spirit to get to know China. It is changing so rapidly around us, and I think it really takes that kind of, I'd say, outgoing personality to really kind of focus on making impact here. I'd say that an open mind, very much a global mindset, it goes down a long way in the corridors of CEIBS, in the classroom of CEIBS, but also living in Shanghai, I'd say. I don't know if Ketan, you have anything to add to that, if that describes you.
I mean, I actually was looking for the China Connect. So I would definitely tell any of the aspirants that if you have the urge to do something, go our way, and you must look at CEIBS. And right now, Asia is the market that's booming. So what best in Asia other than CEIBS? So for me, it was the China Connect. I'd been to China once before for a week-long work trip, and that was like 4 years back. And since then, a lot has changed for the better. And even then, when I was here 4 years back, I was really very interested to be here in China and do something with China. Now that I'm here, I feel that I've chosen the right option.
Sounds great. So every year we meet or we are approached by many students who have already applied to top schools once on their own, and for some or the other reason their application gets rejected, or they don't get an interview call. So basically, they are so keen about the school that they want to reapply. So what is that you're looking into reapplicants? What advice would you give them? What areas they should focus and work on?
Sure, it's an interesting question. So I'm also on the interview committee for CEIBS MBA program, and it tends to be when we do a lot of these feedback sessions, for reapplicants, they've great GMAT, really enthusiastic. They've done a lot of research on their essays. The reason why it tends to fall down is because they've really not identified solid resources at CEIBS that can really help their career. I mean, it could be that you could kind of, plug and drop in the name of any business school in terms of their answers. And whereas that gives some level of insight, we're really looking, for deeper than that. At the end of the day, us and everybody at the school, we want to know that we have the right resources to help you go where you want to go. If you come to us and you've got a 780 on GMAT, but you tell us that you want to fly a rocket ship to the moon, we're going to say, well, we can't help with that. We don't have the right things in place. We really want people to kind of go out of their way to research the eLab, to speak to alumni, to find out, pinpoint accuracy, exactly what resources, what kind of network, what facilities we have on campus and at CEIBS that can help you take your career to where you want to go. With that, we just go into it with a lot more confidence that, you're the right fit, you've kind of got your expectations right about, what you can get out of the program. So, we welcome reapplicants. We tell them to kind of, really go away, kind of think about other alumni connections, think about coming to China, think about the challenges you're going to face here on the language side. And then we've had people that have been successful from that. Obviously, some aren't, but it's kind of the way it goes.
All right, that's great. Thank you for sharing this information again, and I'm very sure that it will help the reapplicants work on their application and create stronger applications for CEIBS. Well, moving on to next, so finances is something which a lot of students are really, worried about. Sometimes they're not able to manage. They do want to study abroad. They have great profiles, but they're not able to manage entire finances on their own. So just wanted to understand if your school provides any financial support or financial aid to students, and if so, then what is the eligibility criteria? What exactly you're looking into them, and on what basis do you actually award your scholarships? And if you can just briefly tell us about the admission application process for the scholarships as well.
Sure. So maybe I'll go first. I know that Ketan was awarded a scholarship, so it'd be good to get his kind of personal insight as well. But just quickly, Jihu, basically, so we have out of the student body this year, 30% received either a fellowship, a scholarship, or a company-backed scholarship. And this covers about between 25 to 100% of tuition. Now, the fellowships and the scholarship side, they're actually decided by the admissions committee. So there's no extra paperwork to fill in. You're automatically considered. And basically at the interview, the professor and then the staff have a list of the scholarships in front of them, and they might finish and go, that this candidate looks great for the women's leadership scholarship, something like that. Then it's discussed at the next round of the admissions committee, and then it's offered. So all of these scholarships are listed on our website. They reward obviously success on GMAT and academic success, but also diversity as well. And then also maybe something that's quite interesting. We're also a school that accepts the Prodigy loans. But on top of that, we launched something recently, which in Chinese is called 滴水权. And It basically means the kind of slow accumulation of water that kind of builds a mighty lake. So in Chinese, it's a lot more snappy and concise. But essentially, this is alumni that are successful and then that love the school and then donate money back to the school that we give out in terms of low interest loans. So very much like Prodigy, you repay the interest while you're studying and then you graduate. There's a grace period, and that's when you start to repay the loan in full. So it makes it a bit more affordable for students that are really looking for that extra bit of financial support. And we have students that fund their MBA at CEIBS through the combination of scholarships, their own savings, and either Prodigy or Decoding. I think if you look at that top 10 list of MBA programs in the Financial Times, I think by far we're going to be one of the most cost effective there. Not just in terms of our tuition, but also the cost of living in Shanghai. It's a rapidly developing city. It has Michelin star restaurants, but it can be remarkably cost effective to live in the city. But I think Ketan would have some interesting insights on that side of scholarships.
I'd say the school has a really good scholarship program as well as the financial aid program. So as James just mentioned, the Sichuan loan is a great way to get some financial aid. Some of my friends from India have received it, and that's a very good interest rate loan. You can find that all those details on the website. But from that, the scholarships are either need-based or talent-based, and also merit-based. So it's a really diverse method in which CEIBS allocates the scholarships, and around 30% of our applicants receive a scholarship. So that's a really great, and the scholarship ranges from 25 to 100% scholarship. So that's a really great scholarship program, I believe.
Well, that's brilliant, and I'm sure it's very encouraging and helpful for future students as well. A couple of minutes back, Ketan was talking about how the school has focused on entrepreneurship and various other activities and facilities available at the school. One thing that I would like to understand here is about career placement services. There are students who are looking back, looking at coming back to their home country post completion of their programs. So if there is any assistance which is provided by the school in terms of getting employment.
Sure. So I'll take the lead on this. So my colleagues in the same office as marketing and admissions, we have some great superstars in our career development center, CDC. There's 8 of my colleagues. They're focused on different industries. And these are the people that are bringing the multinationals and the globalizing Chinese companies to campus to meet with the current MBA students and to kind of find out about their and discuss their hiring needs. So the CDC this year, the graduating class of 2018, 86% of those students got a career switch, either in industry or function, which is pretty high. 45% of the international students that were placed within the first 3 months of graduation remained in China. So there are opportunities here that I'll discuss. But then obviously there are a proportion that go back to their home countries each year. So just to kind of give you a real life example, one of the alums this year, Rahul, he comes from a family business background from India, and actually at our graduation ceremony for the previous class, he joined a roundtable with the global CEO of Hilti. And Chachi challenged him on one of Hilti's business practices. They hit it off, they kept in touch, and then through discussions and negotiations, Rahul is now working at their office in Shanghai. So he's here, he's staying here, he's working. It's still a very international role. Then we have other examples that we have Akshara, who actually did an internship for a globalizing Chinese company called Mobike that you might be familiar with. And she actually did her internship for them in Shanghai. But because they're expanding overseas, she then joined them back in India. So that was an example of kind of leveraging the network and the relationship CEIBS has in China, but then kind of going overseas with that. We also have things like overseas career treks as well to explore opportunities. And this year we'll be launching one in India that will be going to the likes of Flipkart and quite a few other leading companies to try and look at MBA opportunities for our students. And this is something that we kind of perfect and we keep trying to improve on each year. So hopefully that should give you kind of an insight into kind of how it works. Maybe the other thing just to mention quickly would be we also have a great mentorship program. So Ketan maybe can share a little about his mentor that's helping him in China.
Sure. So firstly, I'd like to talk about people who go back to their home country. A lot of those people have an entrepreneurial mindset and do take that path. So I feel that coming to China is from India is a very big advantage, considering I believe, and a lot of people here also would agree, that China, in terms of a lot of aspects, is around 10 years ahead of India. And that's also one of my goals, to find something over there which I could take back to India as a business model. So that is one thing. And apart from that, the mentorship program is a really amazing program. So basically, we are paired with either our MBAs, MBA alumni, who have had who graduated maybe 2 or 3 years back, ranging to 7 or 8 years back. Also, we are paired with our EMBAs, who are the who's and who's of China. They work in the best of companies in China at the C-suite level as well. So it's a great program to get to meet those kind of people and having guidance from those kind of people as into how to approach the MBA as well as a future career path. So that's a great thing.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing. Having a robust career support services helps students a lot in finding great placements for themselves. And I'm very sure the future students or the current students would really benefit from the same. Well, this brings me to last question from my side for this session. For James, if you had one piece of advice that you would want to give to students who are interested into your program, what would that be?
Oh, good question. Well, maybe for us, China's obviously a very, very unique place. It's a very interesting time to be involved in and living in China. For me, I'm already sold. I've been here for kind of over, all in all, over 10 years of my life. But for people there, it is kind of somewhat of a little bit of a risk, coming like Ketan has done to China. So my real one piece of advice is that come and take a look for yourself. We actually offer this annual program called the Pre-MBA Bootcamp, which we run every summer. This year next year, it's from the 2nd to the 7th of July. And the bootcamp is a 1-week kind of mini MBA experience where you get to sit in MBA lectures. We take you to company visits. You get to explore Shanghai and really get a feel for CEIBS, Shanghai, China, before investing the amount of money that we're talking about for an MBA. We have a lot of people that have converted from it, that it just really helps to kind of, they can really picture themselves being one of our students and, as I say, kind of making impact here. That way they're probably going to be like myself and like Ketan will be in the future, China, positive about China through and through. In saying that, if the school opens up a campus in the Caribbean, then I would, I'll be first up to HR to kind of put my CV in for a transfer. But apart from that, for our generation, I think it is the most exciting place on earth to be right now.
Great. Perhaps, Ketan, would you like to add something to this? What would be your advice for students who are looking at, joining this program?
Sorry?
What would be your advice for future students, Ketan, who are looking at joining CEIBS MBA program?
Yeah, my advice would be just find your fit for the program. And I mean, a lot of people would have the mindset that would be against China. and they would look at other places. But I'd say that like the bootcamp program, just come, experience the school, experience the city, and then make up a mindset. And if there is anything that is there in anybody's mind, all of us current students, the alumni are here. Anybody can reach out to us through LinkedIn or any other social media platforms, and we would be happy to answer everybody's question. The school, as in the top rankings, is like any other international business school and has all that an international business school has to offer. So I'd say just find your fit for China, for the program, and you should be good.
Thank you very much. So before we conclude this session, James, is there something which you would like to add for the audience, for the students?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that maybe I kind of have as the big takeaway when we do a lot of these presentations is that for me, if I kind of boil CEIBS down to kind of two learning points, I would say that the advantage of CEIBS is that in a lot of ways, it's similar to top tier schools. You've got the number 8 ranking, the number 1 in Asia ranking, and from that you have the security that the classroom experience, the faculty, the career development support is going to be comparable to those top tier business schools. Then on the other hand, you've got kind of what makes us different. So we're in China, we're in kind of the the eye of the storm. We're close to a lot of the action, both with multinationals coming to China and Chinese companies going the other way. They partner with CEIBS because they're looking for kind of that knowledge on the unknown side of things. So I'd say those are kind of, for me, the two advantages of coming to our school. But as Ketan was saying, find your China fit, come and have a look. Jihu, if you have any plans to come to China, you're welcome to join the boot camp as well. Yeah, thank you very much for your questions and interest in CEIBS.
No problem. It was our pleasure having you join this session and sharing valuable insights. Thank you to James, as well as thank you, Caitlin, for being here and attending this session. Before I'll conclude this session with this short message for our students. If you have any queries, any questions related to studying abroad or anything particular to this session, or you would like us to have more sessions with different schools of this kind, please feel free to write to us at help@reachivy.com. You can also contact us via our website. Thank you so much for Ketan and James. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend ahead. We look forward to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye.